Today's game shouldn't matter. The Texas Longhorns have done more than enough to make the NCAA tournament. I'll tell you why on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's show, what the Longhorns need to do to win another game in the SEC Tournament, and a preview of Texas baseball's first ever SEC series. That's all coming up. But first, Texas has done enough. They should hear their name called on Selection Sunday, just 2 days from now. I know what the national conversation is going to be. I know what the debate amongst Longhorn fans is going to be. Does Texas need one more win to solidify their spot in the field of 68? Don't get me wrong. A win today against the fake UT would absolutely help. But I think Texas has done more than enough to punch their ticket to the big dance. ESPN's Joe Lunardi currently has Texas as the last team in, which means obviously Texas would be in, but the Longhorns would have to open up in the first four in Dayton next Tuesday or Wednesday. Going into yesterday, Joe Lunardi had Texas as his first team out. The Longhorns beat Texas A&M because, of course, we beat Texas A&M. That's just what we do. Sorry about that, little bro. Also, Indiana, the team that Joe Lunardi had as his last team in, lost in the Big Ten tournament to Oregon yesterday. So those two teams flip-flopped in the eyes of ESPN's number one bracketologist. Texas got some other help yesterday, too. Indiana lost. Xavier lost in the Big East tournament. Thank you for that one, Shaka Smart. Ohio State lost on Wednesday. Unfortunately, North Carolina did beat Wake Forest in the ACC. That would have made it a perfect day if the Tar Heels slipped up against Wake, but unfortunately, UNC got the win there. We'll be rooting for Duke today, which that sucks. I don't like doing that. But I want to compare some resumes right now. I want to tell you why I think it is clear that Texas should be in. I'm going to compare the last four teams in, according to Joe Lunardi, and the first four teams out, according to Joe Lunardi. And we're going to compare Texas against those seven other teams. By the way, if you want more conversation about the Longhorns' thrilling double overtime victory over Texas A&M, make sure you check out that video on the channel or on the podcast. We did a live reaction right after that epic marathon went final last night. If you want to hear my thoughts on everything about that game, don't miss it. But we're talking about the resumes right here and right now. So again, we're comparing resumes between 8 teams. So ideally, Texas needs to be in the top 4 of these major categories to get in. The net ranking, Texas is 3rd out of 8 teams. And by the way, I should have mentioned this a moment ago. Joe Lunardi's last 4 in, San Diego State, Xavier, North Carolina, and Texas. His first 4 out, Indiana, Ohio State, Boise State, and Colorado State. A lot of states there. So again, you want Texas to be in the top 4 of these categories. In the net ranking, they are 3rd. According to KenPom, they are 3rd behind North Carolina and Ohio State in both of those metrics. BPI ranking, Texas is 2nd. Strength of schedule, Texas is 2nd. Helps playing in the SEC. This was the best year an individual conference has ever had. The SEC is going to get at least 13 teams in the dance. Obviously, the Longhorns have a chance to make it 14. One thing that might go against Texas, the Longhorns played a very weak out-of-conference schedule. It ranks 8th amongst these 8 teams. It ranks 286th in America. So could the committee hold that against the Longhorns? Now, Texas has played and beaten enough really, really good teams to where I don't think it should matter that much. But you always wonder if the committee is going to reward teams that play tougher non-conference games. Texas had one of the easiest non-conference schedules in the country this year. Their best non-con win, NC State. We know what NC State did last year, making that improbable run to the Final Four, but they just fired their coach. I mean, Syracuse was bad this year. Like Texas's best opportunities to get quality non-conference wins came against Ohio State and UConn, and the Horns lost both of those games. So they don't really have that early season win that they can hang their hat on, which is unfortunate. But again, you look at the body of work for Texas over the course of this season, because of what they did in the SEC and because of what they've done over these last couple of days in Nashville, I think Texas has done more than enough to get in. You look at the quadrant one victories. Everybody talks about quality wins at this time of the year. Out of all of those 8 teams that are right there squarely on the bubble, Texas has more quadrant one victories than anybody else. The Longhorns are 7-9 in quadrant one games this year. Ohio State has the second most wins. They are 6-12 in Q1 games. North Carolina, I'm getting so tired of seeing bracketologists have UNC ahead of Texas. To me, it is total blue blood bias. And that's a real thing. It shouldn't be. The committee's not supposed to care about brand power when it comes to who they are picking to be in and who's going to get left out. But it's a real thing. They want those big name brands. They want those blue blood teams in the field whenever they can get him. So maybe that's why Joe Lunardi still has North Carolina ahead of Texas. But guys and gals, UNC has one quadrant one victory all season long. One. Their win against Wake Forest yesterday was a Q2. Now, Carolina can get one today against Duke, which is why we're rooting for the Blue Devils today. And it sucks that Cooper Flagg isn't playing because that gives North Carolina a chance to pull off the upset. But it blows my mind. Like Texas has 6 more quadrant one victories than North Carolina has. The ACC has been terrible, terrible all season long. You should not reward a team for beating nobody. Their only good win was against UCLA on a neutral floor. That's it. It's the only quadrant one victory Carolina has all season long. It's terrible. Bad losses, another thing that the committee looks at this time of the year. Texas has 0 bad losses. A bad loss is defined by a quadrant 3 or quadrant 4 defeat. Texas hasn't lost any of those games. North Carolina, they have a Q3 loss. Boise State, they've got a Q3 loss. San Diego State, they've got a Q3 loss. Colorado State has 2 of those bad losses this year. So Texas has more quality wins than anybody that they are going up against in terms of the bubble. And they've got 0 bad losses when 4 of those other 7 teams have at least one of those on their resume. So to me, it's clear that of Joe Lunardi's last 4 in and first 4 out, and look, he's not in the selection committee. So what he thinks is the final 8, that's not what the committee necessarily believes is the final 8. But usually Lunardi's pretty close. Usually these bracketologists have a pretty good beat on what the committee is actually thinking. You compare these 8 teams that are right there, to me, it's obvious. Texas has the best resume of those 8. The only 2 teams that I think are even close, North Carolina, and again, they've got one quadrant 1 victory, so I don't think they should be that close, and Ohio State. And I worry about the Buckeyes because, well, they beat Texas. So if those are your final 2 teams, and the committee is down to those 2 for the final spot in Dayton to play in the first 4, it's going to be hard to argue in Texas's favor. Now, I think the Longhorns have the better resume, and head-to-head isn't supposed to matter that much. But if the Buckeyes get in over Texas, it will really sting because of what happened in football a couple of months ago. But it's going to be hard for me to argue too much when on a neutral floor, these 2 teams squared off, and unfortunately, Texas came up short. But still, you can put Ohio State in, you can put North Carolina in if you really want to, and you could still have Texas in there. I mean, Texas has beaten A&M twice. They've beaten Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Missouri, Mississippi State. A lot of these teams, I mean, Xavier and Colorado State, both of them only have one quadrant 1 victory. Just look at the schedules. Look at the strength of schedules. Look at the strength of record. Look at all of these metrics that the committee is supposed to look at. And again, to me, Texas has done enough to earn a spot in the field of 68. Of course, a win today over Tennessee would help. I don't even think we're going to have to debate. I don't even think we're going to have to argue in favor of the Longhorns if they can find a win over Rick Barnes in Tennessee this afternoon. But to me, today's game should not matter. These 2 wins that the Horns have picked up in Nashville should be enough to get them in. That was the goal going into Wednesday. Like, win 2. You got to beat Vandy. You got to beat A&M. If you do that, you should be good. The Longhorns have done that. To me, they should be good. I wish they'd put me on the committee. Then I wouldn't have to make this video because I'd be letting you guys know that Texas is already in. We wouldn't have to be arguing. We wouldn't have to be comparing resumes. The job would be finished already. We'll see what happens. Again, hopefully the Horns can take a decision out of the committee's hands with one more win, maybe 3 more wins. And it'd be pretty cool to hoist the SEC Tournament Championship trophy in year 1 in the SEC. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you think Texas has done enough to be in the dance? Do you think they need one more win? Speaking of that one more win, let's preview that game. What does Texas need to do to get some revenge against Tennessee and advance to the semifinal of the SEC Conference Tournament? We will talk about that here in a moment, right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, I want to give some shout outs to the sponsors for today's episode. How about Nissan? We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. I just gave you a bunch of numbers for why Texas should be dancing come Selection Sunday. When it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear, wherever you need to go. And it's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. It's got room for up to 8 people as well, so it's built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories, hopefully some road trips to the first and second round of the NCAA tournament as well. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. And today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. March Madness is here. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great weekend of conference tournament action. And, of course, the real thing gets going next week. Our friends at FanDuel are giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. And, of course, you can bet on who's going to cut down the nets in San Antonio in early April. Love FanDuel, love March Madness. It's the best time of year to bet. So much action going on over these next 3 weekends. And of course, you don't have to wait till next weekend. You can make it all happen starting today over there at FanDuel.com. And make sure you download that FanDuel app as well. FanDuel.com. Head over there and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. It's the third game in as many days for the Horns, and for the second time in 3 days, Texas will play what feels like a true road game in the SEC Tournament. The Longhorns will take on the 4-seed Tennessee Volunteers, who had a double bye. The Vols will be playing their first game of the week this afternoon. Tip-off supposed to be at 2:30. We'll see if the game actually tips at 2:30. But yeah, Texas going to be the more tired team. Tennessee got the first 2 days off, so they are fresh and they are rested, and there's going to be a lot of that ugly-ass bright orange at Bridgestone Arena a little bit later today. These two teams met once in the regular season, a game here in Austin. Tennessee won it 76-72. The Longhorns actually had a lead with about 4 minutes to play. They couldn't close it out. Tennessee was actually the number 1 team in the country at the time of that first game. Trey Johnson had 26 for Texas, but the Vols did a great job down the stretch. Trey had just 2 points in the final 11 and a half minutes of that one. Arthur Kaluma had just 4 points too, and Texas got beat bad down low. And that was a problem a lot for the Longhorns in the regular season. They got bullied by bigger, stronger, and more physical teams. And when you think of Rick Barnes, you think of physicality. It's a dogfight. Just like you got with A&M yesterday, you're going to get that with Tennessee today. In the first game, Tennessee out-rebounded Texas by 14, and they outscored Texas by 12 in the painted area. Those two things are going to have to be different this time around for the Longhorns to reverse course and pull off what would be another upset, the third straight upset for Texas in this SEC tournament. Both teams are playing for a lot. Texas obviously playing to solidify a spot in the NCAA tournament, but Tennessee still has a shot at a 1 seed. I think Auburn and Duke have 2 of the 4 number ones locked up. But to me, and to people who know more than me, Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee, all 3 of those teams might be competing for those last 2 number 1 seeds. So if Tennessee goes out and wins the SEC tournament on Sunday, I think the Vols are a number 1 seed. So there's a chance. Tennessee won the SEC tournament 2 years ago. Last year they lost in their first game, but they've got a little something to play for. Look, they're already in. At worst, they're a 2. Not a lot of shame in that. But if the Vols put together 3 wins, and that could be, a win over Texas, a win over Auburn, and a win over Florida over these next 3 days. If they do that, then they absolutely have earned a number 1 seed. So plenty to play for on both sides today. What are the keys to a Texas victory? Well, we'll start with the question. More so than a key, does Texas have the energy? I mean, 40 minutes on Wednesday, 50 minutes on Thursday. Now they've got to play against, again, a very physical, hard-nosed, smash-mouth type of team today. Tennessee hasn't played since last Saturday. Texas has played 90 minutes in these last 2 days. Can the Longhorns bring that same level of energy that they showed in the first halves, especially of the wins against Vanderbilt and Texas A&M? Horns were up 15 at the break against Vandy. They were up 6 at recess against A&M. Can they get off to a good start, and can they play hard for 40 minutes? They're going to have to do it to win another game. Another key. Well, this is a real key, not a question. You got to protect the ball. Texas has been great at that. Just 8 giveaways against Vandy, only 6 in double overtime against Texas A&M. 6 in the whole game, not 6 in the second overtime. Texas has done a great job protecting the ball, not letting their opponents get out in transition to get easy buckets. That's been huge for the Longhorns so far at Bridgestone. Another key, Trey Johnson's got to be better. He's got to be better. 8 of 21 yesterday against A&M. That's not terrible, but that's not the Trey Johnson we're used to seeing. It's really 3 straight below average shooting games for him. He was 0 for 14 against Oklahoma, 6 of 19 against Vanderbilt, 8 of 21 against A&M. Kind of a miracle the Horns have won the last 2 games considering how inefficient Trey Johnson has been on the offensive end. I don't know if you can beat a team this good. Got away with it a little bit against A&M. I don't know if you can beat a team this good if Trey Johnson is shooting like he's been shooting in these last 3 games. So you need something closer to 40, 50% from Trey from the floor, I think. And you need him to go over his season average of 20.2 points per game. He hasn't done that in the last 3. He's got to get you 20 plus, I think, for the Horns to win. Another key, there's a lot. If it sounds like a lot, it's because it's going to take a lot for the Longhorns to win today. You've got to get out and run. Protect the ball when you're on offense. Create some turnovers when you're on defense. Tennessee has the number 1 defense in the nation, according to Ken Pom. And they play so slow. Again, if you watch Rick Barnes coach at Texas for all those years, this doesn't come as a surprise. He's the same guy he's always been. It's great defense. They want to slow the game down. They want to play in the 50s or 60s. Texas got to, 79 in game 1. They got to 94 in game 2. That's what you want if you're Texas. Tennessee's not going to make that easy to happen. If you can get some turnovers, get some easy buckets in transition, that's going to help your chances here. Would love to see the Longhorns make some threes. Again, Tennessee, a top 5 3-point defense in America. And for Texas, please defend without fouling. A&M shot way too many free throws. Vanderbilt was able to get back into the game on Wednesday at the free throw line. Try to defend without fouling. It's tough. Again, a physical team that wants to get to the free throw line. They want to muck it up. They want it to be ugly. Defend without fouling. Texas lost Weaver. They lost Mark late. Still found a way to win. You cannot have your guys get in foul trouble because, again, it's going to take a damn near perfect performance to pull off the upset today. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Doesn't sound like a lot that Texas has to do right to win this game. Come on. We'll see what happens. Texas and Tennessee. Longhorns looking for some revenge for what happened in the regular season. And I don't think there's any ill will or animosity towards Rick Barnes. He's the best coach Texas basketball has ever had. But, it's always nice to stick it to your former coach. So we'll see if Texas can get it done. The Longhorns are 9.5-point underdogs. Should have mentioned that at the start of the segment. We're mentioning it now. Vegas not giving UT, the real UT, much of a chance. We'll see if they can prove the doubters wrong. They were 6.5-point dogs yesterday. See if they can get it done. All right, we'll take your thoughts. There's some Texas basketball conversation. But when we come back, let's talk some Longhorn baseball. Texas will play its first ever SEC game tonight in Starkville against Mississippi State. We will preview the Horns' conference opening series when we return. This is Locked On Longhorns. But first, a shout out to our friends at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Unfortunately, I've done that a time or 12. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track of your financials. That's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over all of your finances. It's not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, your spending, all in one place. You don't need 15 different apps to keep track of your money anymore. It's all here so you can manage your money and start building your wealth all in one convenience. It is so easy. It is so smooth to manage your money. Everything can be tracked all in one place, and you can stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com. You're going to get 50% off your first year. Again, the website, monarchmoney.com, the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and you are going to get half off your first year over there at monarchmoney.com. Losing my voice a little bit, guys and gals. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns. I was yelling at the TV a little bit yesterday, watching Texas take down Texas A&M. I really wanted that one. Never want to lose to the Aggies. Never want to lose to the Aggies. Thankfully, Texas found a way to get it done. But we're talking Texas baseball tonight. And boy, the Red Hot Longhorns take their talents to the road for their first ever SEC weekend. Texas brings its 14-game winning streak to Stark Vegas. The Longhorns opening up a 3-game series against the Mississippi State Bulldogs tonight at the Dude. Weather could be a factor. Weather could be a factor. By the time you're watching this or listening to this, we might already have an announcement that we're going to get a doubleheader at some point this weekend. I'm seeing a 60% chance of rain tonight. I'm seeing a 100% chance of rain tomorrow in Starkville. Sunday looks fine, but we'll see. I'm seeing tornado threats potentially coming up in the state of Mississippi over these next few days. So I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully they get all 3 of these games in, but we might get a doubleheader either today or Sunday because, again, 100% chance of rain all day long tomorrow. Mother Nature doing what Mother Nature does. We'll see what happens. But let's talk about these two teams. Texas is 14-1 on the year. Mississippi State 12-4. Both teams are hot. Mention it. The Longhorns have won 14 straight. State has won 6 in a row. Mississippi State is 9-0 at home this year. This is the first true road game for the Longhorns. They've been great. They're 5-1 at neutral sites away from the dish, but they have yet to play a true road game this season. And this is one of the best stadiums in college baseball. This is going to be one of the best atmospheres that Texas sees all season long. I know a lot of Longhorn fans are making the trip, but it goes without saying there's going to be a lot of maroon in the stands at Duty Noble Field this week. It's going to be a loud crowd, but a fun weekend for Texas baseball. It'll be Jared Spencer on the bump tonight. The Indiana State transfer has been incredible for Texas. 4 starts, 2-0 record, .86 ERA. He's got 29 strikeouts in his first 4 starts, averaging more than 12.5 Ks per 9. Fastball touches 96, 97, sometimes 98. The slider's been filthy. He's been fantastic. You'd love to get that first win to send a message to the SEC that, hey, we're here. We're not messing around, all right? Yeah, we know most of our winning streak came against non-SEC teams, but we can do this against the best conference in the sport as well. You can send that early message with a strong performance from Jared Spencer later this evening. Luke Harrison, your Game 2 starter, he's been great all year long too. 1.53 ERA in 4 starts. Hopefully more of the same for him. And then we'll see what Texas does. Again, the weather might throw a wrench into Jim Schlossnagel's plans. My guess is Dylan Volantis is going to be your Sunday starter, but there's a doubleheader tonight. Does Volantis start tonight? If there's a doubleheader on Sunday, does Volantis come out of the bullpen and maybe Jason Flores starts game 3? It's going to be weird to see how Schloss handles it. Obviously, it's his first year. We've never seen Texas play a doubleheader, so I don't know what he is going to do. But I think that's what Texas would like to have is Jared Spencer, Luke Harrison, Dylan Volantis, 1, 2, 3. We'll see if Mother Nature cooperates with that. Hopefully the Texas Bats can keep things going too. Team OPS is 960. 6 guys with an OPS of 1,000 plus. Now, Mississippi State's offensive numbers are ridiculous. Their pitching numbers are ridiculous. These are two really good teams. Texas was picked to finish 8th in the SEC preseason poll. Hail State picked to finish 9th. So on paper, this is a pretty even matchup right here. Obviously, if we're talking about a 17-game win streak on Monday's show, then we might have to raise the bar for what we expect Texas baseball to do in year one of the Jim Schlossnagle era. But you love to get 2 out of 3 in Stark Vegas. Mississippi State, again, their team ERA 2.77. That's third in the SEC. Opponents hitting just 175 against them. They've been striking out a ton of opposing hitters. Hopefully, we don't see that with Texas this year. It'll be Pico Cone. What a great name. Making the start for the Bulldogs against Jared Spencer tonight. Ben Davis, likely your game 2 pitcher, and Carson Ligone. Might have pronounced that wrong. Sorry about that, Carson. Your game 3 pitcher for Mississippi State. But again, their numbers are filthy. They're 12-4 on the year, but their team OPS is over 1,000. They're pitching 3rd best ERA in the SEC. They've done a lot right. So this will be a lot of fun to see what Texas can do. Can Ethan Mendoza stay hot? Can A-Rod stay hot? Max Ballou, Jalen Flores, all of these bats that have carried Texas throughout this 14-game winning streak. The Longhorns are going to need those bats to travel this weekend, and an opportunity here. What a 2-weekend stretch to open up conference play with a trip to Mississippi State and then number 1 LSU coming to town in your first ever home SEC series. Again, an opportunity for the Horns to send a message that they are ready to roll in the best conference in college baseball. We'll take your thoughts. What are your predictions? Can Texas win this series in Stark Vegas? But that's going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. We might have to do another live video if Texas can pull off another upset in the SEC tournament. But of course, we'll be back very soon talking all things Texas Longhorn sports right here on Locked On Longhorns. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. March is here. Be the most informed college basketball fan throughout all of the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Yeah, you can bet we'll be talking Texas basketball on Monday. We'll be talking Longhorn football. We'll be talking Longhorn baseball. Plenty to get into. Also, we'll know where the women are going as well as Selection Sunday, not just for the men, but for the ladies as well. So much to get to right here on Locked On Longhorns. Always appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope everyone has a great day. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see you soon on Locked On Longhorns.